Welcome, everyone, to the Everything Show, episode 765. I am your host, Matrixlord212, and I'm with Chris. What's up, Chris?
This is what happens when Godzilla swallows Mace Windu's lightsaber.
Yeah. So, a lot of crazy stuff going on in movie land, movie news. A lot of interesting things with Sony. We know they did the Ghostbusters with the girls, and everybody lost their shit. And it's still making money. And then there was talks when they got hacked about they were doing a crossover with, I guess, Men in Black and 21 Jump Street, right?
MIB 23.
Right. So, I mean, if the company was in dire straits, which I really don't think it is, because it is, they do have the Sony PlayStation. You know, they do make a lot of money from that. So I don't really think that we're in any situation where they're, you know, afraid of losing money like that. But if there was, why don't they use that excuse to fix Ghostbusters if people thought it needed to be fixed? Why don't you have it that the Men in Black erased everybody's memories of the original Ghostbusters? And that you could just have it where, oh my God, there's a threat of Zool. You know, and the real Ghostbusters are actually somewhere else in a witness protection thing or some crap. And then there you go. It was never a reboot. It's a sequel. I mean, would that piss everybody off?
Yes. Highly. You start seeing, like, Will Smith show up, Tommy Lee Jones, like, yeah. They'll go ape shit, right? Probably. Well, like,
all right.
I could see...
Because, you know, Andy Garcia, I don't know if you saw the movie, but they were like, people joked around, like maybe because they kept having the government trying to cover up that there's no ghosts and stuff like that. What if the government did that in this reality and the Men in Black just wiped everybody's memory and for some reason, like, you know, they just become Ghostbusters anyway? You know, in the real life Ghostbusters.
I could see them doing a crossover, maybe, if it was like tongue-in-cheek, but I don't know. So in other words, there's no way that these Ghostbuster haters are going to accept the female Ghostbusters. No, and
not even if they bring, like, have another universe portal and the real Ghostbusters the original are there.
I mean, maybe if they did something like that, but you got to see where a lot of people are coming from. It's not just Ghostbuster haters. You know, I don't like calling people who don't like the movie that. Are there people who just don't like it because they're female? Yes, and they're wrong. I think they're wrong. The Ghostbusters are female, but there's a lot of people, like where I'm coming from, who look at this and they're just like, this isn't what we grew up with. Like, this is not that it's different. Like, the change isn't the problem. It's the changes that they made that, like, to the tone and to the comedy and stuff.
Right.
I look at this as there's really no reason for all of them to be female. Right. Except for a gimmick. You just made when they first announced this, I was like, okay, are they, like, related to the Ghostbusters from the older movies? Because that would have made sense if they just all had daughters or something, and maybe they had sons as well, but they were Ghostbusters somewhere else. Or maybe if this was another team of Ghostbusters somewhere else that just all happened to be female, that's fine. But the fact that they went back and they rebooted it, that's the problem for me. It's like nobody wanted a reboot of this movie. Right. They could have easily done a third movie. This could have been Ghostbusters 3, but you didn't have to call it Ghostbusters 3. You could have had Bill Murray. You could have had all the other characters, you know, save for Hal Remus, who passed away. I understand that. But you could have said, you know, maybe he passed away in the movie. Maybe he was killed. Maybe he just died of old age. Preferably, that's what I would have rather had.
I would rather have that too, yeah.
Yeah, and then they just said, listen, we can't do this anymore. We have to pass it on to another team. And there you go. I personally think that would have been more accepted. But this, to me, what it was like, and I think this is where a lot of people are coming from, is we wanted Ghostbusters 3. But the studio, having the ability to do this, was like, no, you know what? You're not getting that. This is what you get.
Wasn't it really not the studio? I mean, Bill Murray was the one that was stopping it. They wanted to do it for years and years and years, and he shredded the script. He had the power legally to stop it, and then they paid him off. And then by that time, the company's like, "Oh, the hell with it. Let's just reboot it. We went through so much trouble. Let's just reboot it." But it wasn't Sony that was delaying.
Well, I don't buy that because he was in this movie. So obviously, if they would have got him for something,
there's a reason why he's in this movie. The reason why he's in this movie is because he's been in movies with Melissa McCarthy, and he likes Melissa McCarthy, and he likes the girls because he's been in movies with them. So that's why he's a fan of them, and he's supporting them. That's why he's in the movie, because he was in Vincent. He was in a few movies. So, of course, that would be natural. Not because, you know what I'm saying? That's why he's in the movie.
I don't buy that, because I personally think that they could have done it even without him. If they would have gotten him to sign off on it, he doesn't have to be in the movie. He could have made a cameo like he did in this one. I don't think there's much of a reason why they decided to reboot it other than, hey, let's just reboot it.
And I thought that Dan Aykroyd's a big part of the girls' Ghostbusters.
He is, yes, he is.
So didn't he have a plan to make it a cinematic universe, Ghost Corps, and
but that went out the window, because when they were planning, it did, because when they were planning on making that other Ghostbusters movie where it was going to be a mixed cast or something, that's now been canceled.
Well, they're
not doing that.
Here's the thing: I felt that they canceled it because they felt it was disrespectful to the girls. Like, because it would be seen as a backup plan that they weren't successful. But the thing is that because they have an animated TV show, right?
Yeah, it's coming out soon.
Animated movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why don't they just do it where they show multi-universes of Ghostbusters?
Well, I think they could. I think they could do that. I think that they might do that. I think there's a good chance of them doing that. But what a lot of people, the problem with this movie, and I think it's a reason why some people don't like it, is because people who weren't on board with it were immediately labeled misogynists and
sexist, which is wrong.
And that I think really soured the movie. And honestly, though, even though the movie is still making money, I'm going to call a spade a spade. There are not many people that like this movie. It's not a well-liked movie. It's making money, but I have to tell you,
I think they should have answered, like, you know, Paul Feig and the girls. I don't think they should have answered and painted the fans in that light. You know, saying that they live in their basement, because even Ivan Reitman said, you know, I am with the original fans. I don't go against them like that. They have a right to not accept this. I mean, you shouldn't be, you know, in this day and age, everybody wants to shoot everybody for like not agreeing. Yeah. Somebody's calling me a liar because I like the movie.
And that's not right.
I'm like, how effing stupid are you that I'm lying what? That I don't have to like what you like. I could like what I like. How is that me being a liar if I like the movie? That's not, that opinion is not a lie.
It doesn't make sense.
I think there's a lot of stupid people in this world, and I think there's a lot of people that want their opinion to be the only opinion. And that's headed for disaster. I mean, honestly, I hate to say it, but I mean, odds are they made a lot of money from the toys. They made a lot of money from the merchandising because of this movie. And just like when Transformers, the toy company said, hey, you need to make new Transformers because we can't make money then. The toy sales are low. You need to make a different variety of Transformers so then we can have sales. They did that. Remember that?
They did, yeah.
They did that.
But even that was met with a bad... They made a lot of mistakes because you're talking about in the 80s, right?
No, I'm talking about when one of the movies of Michael Bay, they said something like, you need to make some new Transformers.
Oh, no, they just wanted to add more Transformers because they wanted to sell the cars. But what you're talking about happened in the 80s, where they said, we're going to introduce a new wave. But the problem was they killed off all the characters in the Transformers in the animated movie. And everybody was like, well, what the hell? Now our kids have all of these toys, but all the characters are dead. Like when they, I know for a fact, they said this on the 20th, I think it was the 20th anniversary DVD. The director said that when we killed off Optimus Prime, it was the worst mistake we ever made. And they had to change the G.I. Joe movie because they were going to kill off Duke. But at the end of the movie, they get a call and he's like, no, Duke's okay. He's still alive because They were like, if we kill off Optimus Prime and Duke and like,
oh, forget it.
It would have
been
people are gonna lose their minds.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I was in shock when Optimus died too. I'm like,
yeah. Which to this
scared.
day, not just Optimus dying, but all those characters dying to this day is one of the reasons why I don't like that movie, because there was no good they had a reason, but in my opinion, the reason wasn't good enough to kill off the characters. You could have said that they were captured or Unicron took them or something.
They brought them back anyway. Optimus Prime came back though to life.
Yeah, but then they killed them again. And we never saw it over here, but in Japan they killed them again.
Oh, in Japan. So now, who's ruling the Autobots now, or is it just redone?
Well, in the show, it went back to Rodimus Prime,
okay.
But that's a different canon. You know, there's been so many Transformers canons now. It's unbelievable.
But I honestly think there's going to be a sequel to Ghostbusters.
I think there will.
But here's the thing: why don't you can't we come on a common ground? I mean, for me, if I was doing it, I honestly would have Zool. Right, I would have it that the spiritual ghosts, right?
Mm-hmm.
They kind of exist in all, like to them they're confused with this is a different universe, this is a different universe, you know? That they kind of exist in all universes, but they like Zool would have memories of fighting the Ghostbusters, right?
Yeah.
And then they come into this universe and they're confused, like Zool and Gozer Gazarian. So right away, I would have him in the next movie kidnap all the cameo people that look like the Ghostbusters but are not, because they're confused. And then you find out, and I would have it that Bill Murray's character lived somehow, or whatever. You could do that, and then you would find out that there is a portal opens or something, and they find out Dan Aykroyd is Ghostbuster, and then it would be like funny communication between the two with Bill Murray. I would have Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Ernie Hudson, and I would also have Oscar as a Ghostbuster because he should be of age now, and I would probably have him as Seth Rogen or somebody, because then you could open up the door where if you bring them in, and then they team up together and they defeat Zool, then at the end of the movie you have and then you find out like maybe in this universe that's what they would have looked like, but in the other universes, two separate universes. Yeah. And then by doing that at the end of the movie, then you have a springboard. Then you could say, all right, we have two franchises now. We could go ahead and make a sequel with the girls, and we could technically go ahead and make a sequel with the original Ghostbusters where Oscar has his friends, and they pass the torch, and basically they have the old Ghostbusters in there, but then Oscar with all his friends become the new Ghostbusters. So you could actually technically have a Ghostbusters 3, and then you could have something with the girls. And then you could just spin off where the government makes multiple teams of Ghostbusters in the girls' universe, and then you have another team.
You see, that's what you described with Oscar and them being, Ghostbusters and stuff.
Right.
That's the movie people wanted.
But remember I sent you a link the other night?
Yeah.
What everything show was that we talked about it?
I don't even remember.
It was really like 120 or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it was early. It was early.
We've been talking about the Ghostbusters like sequel reboot for years. I mean, that was dated at I think 2014, and I had suggested in that cast that they get Seth Rogen, maybe a James Franco, a mixture of like, This Is the End, Hot Top Time Machine. I thought it would be pretty funny. I would think that Seth Rogen would be. And then you would find out in the movie that, yes, Oscar is the child of Peter Venkman. That it would, like the ghost knows and he doesn't know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It was people wanted that movie, and I think that they had the ability to make that movie, but they didn't. And that's why people are upset, is because you could have had this really good passing of the torch storyline. This is something that I agree with James Rolfe about, because he did a whole video about the history of Ghostbusters 3 and how it kind of fell apart. Now, I don't agree with everything that he says, but on the Ghostbusters topic, I agree with everything he says. On this topic, other topics, I don't agree. But with when he's talking about Ghostbusters, he laid out how a third Ghostbusters movie could have been done, and he related it to Star Wars Episode 7. And I was like, you know, that would have been the movie everybody wanted to see. But it was like this. It was like you ordered food, right? And you were waiting for it, right? And then your waiter comes out and they're like, oh, yeah, we could make you that, but instead we made you this. And you're like, well, I don't want this. I want the other thing. And then when you say that, they're like, no, you can't have it. That's what it felt like to me and to everybody else or other people. I can't say everybody, but to some people, I think they felt that they made a movie, but they didn't make the movie.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like if they would have made, it's like if they made, I don't know, if they rebooted Spider-Man again, right?
Wow.
But you would get this. Let's say instead of Tom Holland, they're like, you know what? We're making a Miles Morales movie.
Right.
He's going to be our main Spider-Man. People would be like, what the fuck?
I would lose my shit probably.
Yeah, I'm not saying that because Miles Morales is African American. I don't want to.
No, I'm not saying that either. But I would lose my shit.
I know, but what I'm saying is, they're like, no, you know what? In our movie, it's going to be Spider-Gwen, and that's going to be the main Spider-Man.
I mean, that's an alternate universe. You know that's an alternate universe. So that's not,
no, but I'm saying in the cinematic universe, if they're like, no, you know what? It's Spider-Gwen.
Right. That wouldn't
People would be like, what?
Yeah.
That's what you got to like. Think of it like that. But I also see where people like you who like it because you feel it is a good callback to the old movies. Right. And I understand that. I understand where you're coming from.
See, I
don't dislike people who like it.
I still have the hope that the original Ghostbusters will appear as the original Ghostbusters, not shitty cameos. I'm not saying that cameos were shitty. I'm glad that they were in it, but I would have rather seen them as the original Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. But I still have the hope that they would appear. Screw it, because Zool is the type. Like, when I saw Ghostbusters in the movie, my dad took me to see Ghostbusters. And I remember, like, that whole thing. To me, it could have been, like, a cool thing, like the door goes both ways. The possibilities of Zool opening up portals to different universes. And in fact, I envisioned, like, them fighting Zool in the Girls reboot, and then them going to the same thing, and then all of a sudden them do a shot, and they see the Ghostbusters on the other end. You know? My thing is, I love the Ghostbusters so much growing up, right? And when I was not happy with Ghostbusters 2. Yeah. I gotta say. I was really disappointed because I felt that they got too kiddie-ish. I like the Girls movie better than Ghostbusters 2. All right? I know, because it's nothing against Vigo, the Scourge of Carpathia, the Sorrow of Moldavia. I like that character, but I felt the whole crap with the Jell-O mold effect and the Statue of Liberty walking, it became such a child rated G movie. Yeah. And I'm like, this is not the movie that I saw. The movie that I saw scared the shit out of me a little bit, where the dog like ate her and shit. And you're like, oh crap, this is serious. This was like rated G Ghostbusters. And I had a problem with that. I mean, the Ghostbusters too. I had a big problem with it. I thought it was stupid that they were fighting each other. I just didn't believe. Like, to me, this was like Superman 4 for me. Okay? I'm sorry to say that, but Ghostbusters 2, I did not like it like that. It was okay. I'll make it passing, I guess, but this Girls movie, I liked it a lot better. And there's nothing wrong with that. But that doesn't mean I'm against the original Ghostbusters. So I had wrote in high school a treatment for a third Ghostbusters. And I had it where, because they were always having problem with the mayor and all that crap, I took that out of the equation and I made that Bill Murray's character, Dr. Peter Venkman, became the mayor of New York. You know? So that way, you know, even if he wasn't a Ghostbuster, or he was, they wouldn't have to do any bullshit about having the funds to be Ghostbusters. And he would play it as a political thing too. He's a Ghostbuster and he's defending New York. You know? I mean, why wouldn't he get elected at saving, you know, if you ran it for mayor after saving the city twice, they would make him as mayor. So that's, I made a whole thing, and I even brought back the character that shut down the machine. What's his name?
Peck?
Yeah, Walter Peck, or whatever his name was. Yeah, and I had a whole thing with that. So, you know, he would have been a political rival trying to run for mayor too, or some crap. But you could use that excuse now if Bill Murray didn't want to put the proton pack Make him the universe. They could have made him mayor of New York in the Ghostbusters, in the main universe, and then have Dan Aykroyd form a team with Winston.
I mean, what? I mean, they could have even said that he retired and he's with Sigourney Weaver now.
Oh,
or something like that.
I envisioned that he's still with Sigourney Weaver. Like they were together. So, but I really feel that Oscar was his kid, and that she just didn't want to tell him because that would tie her to him forever. So that's why she didn't say anything. But I would have it that he finds out through a ghost that knows. Oh, your father, and then be like, what? And then it would be like, Bill Murray would be the mayor, and he's like, my kid's in trouble, and I'm gonna go save him.
It would have been brilliant. I mean, not brilliant. It's so obvious. I mean, to me, I guess maybe it's not obvious to the filmmakers, but or people who wrote it. I'm not trying to detract from their skill or anything, but what I'm saying is like, you could have just said like, play off their age. Like, we can't keep doing this. We're not. Yeah. We can't do it anymore. We need a younger team.
100
there you go.
That thing is a lot to run around with that. We just can't do it anymore.
There's your out to get a younger team. And yeah, they could have all been female. Why not at that point, Or, preferably I would have liked a mixed cast, honestly. I think that, couple women, couple men, could have worked. But
see, I think that if there's a sequel, they have to have the original Ghostbusters as the original Ghostbusters. I think that they need to find a common ground with us fans and say, look, we know where we made the mistake, but we're going to fix it. And we're going to do something to make everybody happy. The last Ghostbusters wasn't technically a reboot, it was a sequel. And this was our plan all along. Or some bullshit, even if they bullshit, whatever. And Zool, and they could fix everything, where it's just the same universe. Maybe everybody didn't forget. And I'm not saying do the Men in Black thing, but something where they could just explain everything.
Yeah.
That they came before. That's the whole thing. I mean,
they could have even done something where it was like Dan Aykroyd's character went missing or something while he was doing a ghost, where he was doing something, and they were trying to find him or something, something like that.
See, people they don't understand what my take is on it. I don't want it to fail, okay? If it fails, it's like a Godzilla situation, right? You won't see a Godzilla movie for like 20 years.
Yeah, no
kidding. Godzilla film, all right? I'm not getting any younger, so I don't want to have a situation where I'm not going to see another Ghostbusters until I'm 60 or 70 or not at all. So if this, and again, if I didn't like the movie, I would rip it apart. You know that. But I actually liked it a lot. I thought it was great. So I think that, they need to, Paul needs to sit down, maybe get a different writer, maybe because he had a co-writer with him, and say, look, let's come back and knock this out of the park.
I think him and Dan Aykroyd need to do what you just said.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're not going to piss off the fans. We're not going to put down the fans. We're not going to say anything. We're going to have a PR person, everything. Nobody's going to bash any type of fans, whether they like it or not, going forward. Nobody's going to say anything. We're going to try to have a common ground where we can establish the cinematic universe, where we can spawn different movies at the same time. We could do a offshoot of passing the torch with the original Ghostbusters and have a thing with the girls, and then maybe have something in the middle. It would be believable if they have different Ghostbusters in different states or whatever. It would make sense. Maybe you have Ghostbusters in California or whatever. You can't just have ghosts in New York. That's ridiculous. So maybe they could do something. So I would just play off that. I would say, look, we need to have a serious meeting. This has so much potential, this franchise. Let's not screw it up. All right? We have the position where we made an announcement there's going to get a sequel. We're going to do it for the fans. We're going to throw money into it. All right? And we're going to have it where we're going to have the original Ghostbusters and the girls, and they're going to explain everything with Zool, and it's going to be fixed. End of story. Maybe even Kate McKinnon's character is an offshoot of Egon or something. Like maybe it's Egon's daughter or something. You know, maybe something. I don't know. Because they did show his statue at the university or whatever it was that he was in. So there's got to be. I honestly am not against. I am all for. I love the original. Don't get me wrong. So let's fix this. Let's stop writing it like we're trying to piss people off.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the thing. You want to show. But then here's the thing I don't agree with, right? I understand, you know, he did this, Paul Feig, with, who wrote it? Amy Pascal? Did she write it? Not sure.
I'm not sure, to tell you the truth.
But the thing is, why now this sudden everybody should be a female nonsense, like with Splash and all that? I think they lost a message somewhere. You know, like, I don't think that was the purpose to make gender swaps in another movie. Because I really don't think that that's a good idea.
It's not.
Splash. And I don't want to see Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. They're doing that too. I don't think that's a good idea either. It's not that I wasn't really a fan of that, but so I think I'm pretty like 90% sure they're going to do a sequel because you had two different people saying they're going to do a sequel, heads of Sony. So I'm pretty sure they're going to. But let's not everybody lose their shit. And I mean, that's another thing. When people just fight, for Ghostbuster fans to fight with each other is really stupid. I mean, I have people fight with me, you know, because they don't want it to succeed. Because they think that, they honestly think that if they make a sequel, that it's going to be more of the same. It's not. It definitely isn't.
Well, I got to say, I don't think it's going to be, but let's, you know, I want to throw this out there. If they do more of the same, it's not going to work.
Right. Oh, well, I agree. Don't get me wrong, but I think they need to recognize the original Ghostbusters, and that's what I'd be looking for, because I don't like, as I told you before, I don't like retcons. I don't like, you know, I don't like reboots most of the time. I mean, I don't really, half the times I don't remember any reboots I really liked. I mean, they rebooted Nightmare on Elm Street, I hated it. You know, they do a lot of reboots, I just like, Total Recall, I'm like, oh God. You know, all the stuff. So let's just do it right. Do Ghostbusters 2 right. That's all. No Statue of Liberty's walking with the sneakers. Don't, and that's another thing. This stuff had scary stuff. They need to keep that. They need to keep the scare, shock elements. You can't make it too kiddie-ish. Like, don't be like the Ghostbusters 2 did. Dancing with the toaster and shit. I mean, that's like, you know, let's just not do stupid stuff, honestly. Because again, any Ghostbuster fan out there, you compare 1 to 2, and I'm pretty sure everybody likes the first one over the second one. So I'm pretty sure. So, all right, and Men in Black. What the hell is that going to be?
Oh,
God, we don't even know. I mean, it's just not even going to be Will Smith. Why wouldn't he want to do that? You know, that blows my mind that he had all these opportunities to come back on all these sequels, and he said no.
Well,
he's a billionaire or something. What?
I can't blame him anymore for Independence Day resurgence.
Well, I can't even give that opinion because I never saw it. So yeah, that's surprising because I'm really shocked I didn't get to see it. But
I can't blame him for that. MIB 23. The only thing I can think of is that maybe they pitched the idea to him, and he was like, "Nah, I don't think so."
I mean, was it the fact that he was doing another movie they couldn't, or was it? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't even know what's. I guess MIB 23 is in early. It's in like early pre-production, I would think. But I don't know. Who knows?
Listen, if you're gonna do crossovers, why don't you mix everybody together? Men in Black, Ghostbusters, and friggin' 20. Why not? Why effing not? What's the difference? If you're really going to go that crazy, then do it. Throw Men in Black with the Ghostbusters. Make them that they erased all their memories. Of all, the whole friggin' city of New York, everybody, that there was a group of Ghostbusters before. And then poor friggin' Dan Aykroyd's actually a Ghostbuster, but he's a cabbie, too. Or whatever.
Well, that would be pretty. That would be pretty bad because that would make them Men in Black look like bad guys.
I know. Then everybody hate Men in Black. Well, couldn't you have it like there was a Men in Black guy that just screwed up? And just, you know.
I think they should have done that. I think what they should do now not reboot Men in Black, but what I think they should do is do a soft where it's in the same universe, but it's not with Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith. You have new characters, and maybe you know, there's like a rogue group or something within the Men in Black.
Why can't you do Will Smith and Josh Brolin? I like that one. Did you see that one? Third one?
Yeah, that was Men in Black 3.
I like that. It was like my favorite one.
That was I thought that was better than Men in Black 2.
Yeah.
I didn't really like Men in Black 2. I loved the first Men in Black. I didn't like Men in Black 2, and then I liked Men in Black 3 though.
Yeah. So
I think honestly what studios should do is instead of doing complete reboots, they do soft reboots. Because I think that's the best way to go, because that's like what you've been saying. That's like the middle ground where everything else you love about a franchise did happen, but there's something new. You know what I'm saying? Yes. That's basically what episode 7
That's
was.
what like Jurassic World was.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
It was a soft reboot.
It was a soft reboot, yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
So that's what they need to do, really. See, now with the Spider-Man situation, you know, I just don't like it. I mean, I have a hard time with when things are a success, changing things. Now, I'm going to adapt to Tom Holland, you know?
Yeah.
But I just very upset we never got another Tobey Maguire one. And I am kind of upset. I'm kind of upset, too, that we didn't get another Garfield one. Like a third
well, you know, Spider-Man 3 to me was the ultimate example of a studio getting too hands-on with stuff, demanding things.
Well, they screwed it up, but they actually screwed up Spider-Man 4, where they made Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
Oh, and that would have been amazing. That movie, amazing. But with the concept of multiple universe theory, I don't really see. I mean, the audience ain't stupid. No. I don't really see why they couldn't do that and just make it another Tobey Maguire one. Still now.
I mean, maybe they might. I mean, I don't know, but I doubt it, though. I don't know.
I don't see what. See, that's the thing. Like, I never understood why there wasn't another Ghostbusters in all the freaking decades after, you know, the second one.
Well, they tried. They tried to do it. But
they just going to hell. I mean, that was wasn't crazy about that script at all. Ghostbusters going to hell, but whatever.
Well, I got to tell you, had the video game been a movie, I think it would have done pretty well.
Right.
Because that video game was amazing.
Right. And they all got back together for that, which was weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I don't know. All right. I guess that's it. Thank you, guys. Glad you're watching. Take care. Bye for now.